Today we are reading the Arcana, and we will be reading books 1 through 4, 1 through 5, just to get ourselves acquainted with what the Arcana is if we don't already know. And yeah, nice. Book 1, The Magician. My name is Kay. I'm a student of the magical arts. I live and train in the city of Vesuvia. Tonight, the evening fog is thick, blanketing the street in an ethereal, milky glow. I linger at the window to appreciate the tranquil scene before drawing the curtain shut. I'll miss you. My master Azra, the fortune teller, I know nothing of his past. Yet he's taught me all I know of magic. Must you leave tonight? It's the dead of a moonless night, the right time for beginning a journey. His eyes twinkle in the low lamplight. Here, take this, for you to play around with while I'm gone. A gift? How unusual. My tarot deck. That's the last thing I expected him to give me. The tarot deck is Azra's own creation, imbued, I don't know, with great power. Do you think I'm ready, Master, or do you think I want your keepy deck? Joking or not, I'm gonna go with sincere. You think I'm ready, Master? You're still calling me that? You know, I can't answer that for you. You've made incredible progress, but you still won't let go of your doubt. Do you think you're ready? 1. Why don't we ask the cards? Or why don't you ever answer my questions? Well, why don't we test out the cards? Why don't we ask the cards? Excellent suggestion. A few rays of starlight peek through the gauzy curtains. It's been a while since we've practiced. Because I've perfected it? Have you now? You really are gifted. I shouldn't have expected any less. Well then, let's see what that perfect technique. He is always going on about how powerful and gifted I am. His confidence is heartening, but I don't know where it comes from. When we sit down, something brushes along my ankle, smooth and cool. Oh? He reaches down from his chair and holds out his hand. A long purple serpent winds her way up his arm. She flicks her tongue at me. It's Faust, Azra familiar. She's pleased to see me, I think. If we're all here, then let's begin. I shuffle the deck. His gaze follows the cards as they slip through my fingers. 1, 2, 3. Let's see here. I'm gonna go with 1. It is an owl, the High Priestess. Azra leans close, expectant. And what is she telling you? Is she speaking to you now? When the cards speak to me, it isn't in any human tongue. Nonetheless, when my mind is clear, the answer comes to me. You've forsaken her. I have? Yes, you've pushed her away and buried her voice. Azra frowns but says nothing, waiting for me to continue. She calls out, but you won't listen. Master, if you ignore her... A sharp knocking startles all three of us. A customer at this hour? Did we forget to put out the lantern again? Just as well. I can't stay any longer. Azra gathers up his things to leave. Wonder where he's going at this time and what he'll bring back. But I know better than to ask him. He never answers. Well then, take care of yourself, Kay. He still has something to say, but he won't say it. Until we meet again. He parts the curtain soundlessly and slips out the back door. Azra's barely left when the mystery visitor knocks again. Impatient by the sound of it. Lock the door or open the door? Why not? We're gonna open the door. I open the door. The figure steps inside and begins to unwind the shawl from their neck. Forgive me for the hour, but I will not suffer another sleepless night. The elegant cloth slips away, revealing the visitor's face. At the sight of her, my heart leaps into my throat. The Countess Nadia, here, in my shop, in the dead of night. Please, you must read the cards for me. Well, you've come to the right place. The Countess relaxes ever so slightly, her gaze sweeping over the shop. So I'm told. Your reputation precedes you. Beggars and nobles alike, the people of this city whisper your name in wonder. Though in my dream you were different. No matter, I come with a proposal. Dream? Yes, an unwelcome ability I have happened to possess. My dreams are haunted by visions of future waiting to unfold. But the future I saw, the one that brought me to you, is one I will not allow to pass. And what's the proposal? Are you nervous, perhaps? You needn't be. I require very little of you. Come to the palace, and be my guest for a short while. You'll be afforded every luxury, of course. I only ask that you bring your skill in the Arcana. The Arcana. She must be talking about Azra's tarot deck. I will alert the guards to expect you tomorrow. But before that, I want to see these talents of yours for myself. Shall we do a reading? Under her imperious gaze, I usher her to the humble back room. The Countess seats herself across from me. Her gaze darts across the small space before falling on the cards on the table between us. I shuffle the deck. She folds her hands before her and closes her eyes. 1, 2, or 3. Well, since we picked 1 last time, why don't we pick 3? A fox. The magician. She peers down at the card, studying its face. How very appropriate. And what does the magician hold for me? My mind is clear, and the answer comes to me as easily as ever. You have a plan, one that's important to you. And, should I set it in motion? Her eyes pierce me, flashing brilliantly in the lamplight. Yes, now's the time to act. Everything has fallen into place. Say no more. Abruptly she stands, giving the card one last glance. She throws back the curtain, striding back into the shop proper. Your fortunes are very straightforward, much the same as others I've heard. And yet you're the first to pique my interest. The Countess crosses to the front door, winding the shawl around her face. I guess I should open the door. I nearly trip over my feet in my haste to open the door. The Countess merely looks amused. Well, I will see you tomorrow, then, at the palace. Pleasant dreams. And with that, she glides past me and out into the night. For a moment, I'm frozen, staring after her figure long after it's gone. But what could the Countess of Vesuvia want with me, a mere apprentice? All that talk of my reputation. Could it be that she mistook me for Azra? I'm still mulling it over when I hear a harsh, muffled voice. Strange hours for a shop to keep. Who said that? My gaze darts around the shop, chasing shadows in the dark. Behind you. Sure enough, when I turn, I see a figure looming against the door. So, this is the witch's lair. Then, who might you be? My heart starts racing as the masked intruder advances. We're going to negotiate. Who's asking? I manage to spit something out, enough to give them pause. Well, I'm asking. I'd rather not do it again. The squeal of leather makes me wince as the stranger reaches towards their mask and tosses it to the floor. As I suspected. Shock, horror. You know how I am, don't you? I do know his face. I've seen it on wanted posters around the city. But his name eludes me. No matter. Quickly now. Where is the witch? I take a deep breath to calm myself. It seems he only wants more information. Nothing more. Master Azra's gone. I don't know where, because he never tells me. Master, is it? Well, I won't pry into your personal affairs. But if you don't know, and I don't know, why don't we ask your magic cards? Huh? This is what the room in the back is for, isn't it? I give a hesitant nod, unsure of the motives behind his odd request. After you, then. He drops himself into the reading chair, looming over the table. Go on. No need to be shy. I don't know your name. My name? For your reading, I need to know your name. Oh, right, of course, yes. You can call me Julian. Hesitantly, I take my seat, his eyes tracking my every move. And since we picked 1 and 3 the last time, let's choose 2. Well, it looks like a skull, and it has a scythe. So, that's fun. As soon as the card is flipped, my mind starts racing. Death. The card whispers to me, but before I can understand it, Julian interrupts. Death? Death? He barks with uncontrollable laughter. He turns away from me and the cards, raising his eyes to the heavens. Death can cast her gaze on this wretch and turned away. She has no interest in the abomination like me. He strides out of the back room without a backward glance. Overcome with confusion, I follow at his heels. Wait, that's not what death means. But Julian heaves a heartfelt sigh, shaking his head. No, my fate is sealed. But you've been hospitable, so I'll let you in a little secret. Your witch friend will be back for you. He's taught you his tricks. You may even say that he cares for you. He lifts his mask from the floor, staring into its glassy red eyes. But when he returns, seek me out for your own sake. Don't let him fool you, shopkeep. After giving me a long, hard look, he fixes his mask in place. Well then, the hour's late, and I'm out of time. With a swirl of his great black tape, he throws the door open. It slams shut behind him as he disappears into the early morning fog. End of Book 1. And now, Book 2, The High Priestess. I've seen many things in my time as a magician's apprentice, but the events of this night were the strangest yet. Seeking a moment's rest, I go upstairs to lie it down, and slip away, lost in a dream. The sky is no more than a slim green line along the endless horizon. Azra sits beside me, on the back of a strange beast. Master! Where are we? Dark clouds bear all around the landscape, a shifting sea of rust-colored sand. Ahead is a road of perfect black stone. Far enough from home, I think. Far enough from... For what? For answers. Clarity. I need them soon. A storm is coming. He looks out into the distance, his voice dimming to a wistful whisper. I strain to see where the path leads, but it keeps changing. Soon there will be a crossroads. How soon? Where do they lead? Depends on which one you take. His hands reach for mine, but he stops just short. The sands rise all around us on a chilly wind, blotting out the sky. For now, Kay, rest. I fall into a dreamless slumber. When I wake, dawn light is filtering through the dusty windows. I spend the early hours preparing my things, casting wild shadows on the wall. I am to meet the Countess at the palace for some unknown purpose. I throw on a traveling cloak and hurry outside, dragging the heavy door shut behind me. After last night's intrusion, I turn the first lock and then the second and third. Almost satisfied, I press my right hand to the door and whisper a cross-me-not spell. White whirls grow deep within the door, slowly fading into the grain. I'm about to leave when the hair at the nape of my neck rises in alarm. Someone is right beside me, a dark shape looming in the alley. The form is certainly human, though enormous in size. Their flesh is scored with scars, clean and jagged, shallow and deep. Shrouded in a pale of weather-beaten furs, it's hard to make out a face. But they're definitely watching me. They stand between me and the road to the palace. Excuse me, can you move? Stormy green eyes meet mine, unblinking. The hulking figure slowly slides to the left, clear of my path. I hear the rattle of weighty chains swinging ominously beneath their robes. I square my shoulders and march forward. Suddenly they speak, in a voice like distant thunder. He will return, uninvited. He will offer you an escape when you need it most. Turn it away, or you will fall into his hand, just like the rest of us. I stand frozen, processing what I just heard. There's the shuffling behind me and the dragging of rough cloth and chains. Then silence. I look up and down the foggy alley. I left the shop and then... Wasn't there someone else here just now? I shake off the fading thought. I don't have time to dawdle. The Countess is expecting me. Exhaling deeply, I continue towards the narrow, mossy steps to the marketplace. It's early, yet the marketplace is already wide awake. All around me are the sounds of battering laughter, vendors hawking their wares. A voice I know well calls out to me over the sea of noise. Kay, have you eaten? I've got that pumpkin loaf you like in the oven. Won't be long now. Come, sit down, talk for a while. I sniff the air, and my stomach twists in hunger. Then again, I should be careful of the time. But bread, so. The baker's sun-speckled face lights up with a broad smile. He leads me into the booth, and a warm, spicy scent surrounds me. As I settle against the back wall, he offers me a steaming tin cup. And where is Azra? Sleeping in? I sip my hot, minty drink. He's on a journey. Nah, where's he off to this time? I shrug. The baker gives me an odd look. He didn't tell you. I look down into my cup, watching the steam curl and twist as it rises. He was acting strange. The baker sighs, folding his arms over his chest. So, he's off on some mysterious journey. That's nothing new. But what of your mysterious journey, if I may ask? Shaken from my reverie, I blink up at him, startled. There have been whispers all morning, you know. They say the Countess's escort rode into the neighborhood around dawn. He gives a meaningful look, clearly fishing for gossip. But I smile and shake my head, downing my drink. How's that bread coming along? Mysterious as ever, you and Az are both. The baker goes to the small wood stove to check. There, all wrapped up for the road. I place a coin on the table and hand off my empty cup. Now run along. Don't keep the Countess waiting. I give a backwards wave and head back out into the flow of traffic. As I climb the well-worn steps, something catches my eye. A fortune-teller's booth, tucked away into a shady corner. How nostalgic. Azra once operated out of a place just like it. As I'm lost in my musings, a patron emerges from the booth.
Lucky numbers, check. Groceries.
I don't notice them backing into me until we crash into each other.
Ah!
The impact makes me stumble, teetering on the edge of the step. It also upsets the basket balanced on the stranger's hip, which sends a dozen pomegranates rolling down the stairs.
Oh, perfect. As if I wasn't already late.
I'm gonna help. I drop into the garage beside the stranger to help. I spot a pomegranate as it's about to be stomped under a stray hoof and swipe it at the last second. When I hand it back to the stranger, their eyes sparkle with delight.
Oh, thank you. How sweet of you to help. And after I bumped into you in the first place.
Together we hunt down the rest of the pomegranates. They're a little bruised, but rare.
Well, I can't thank you enough.
They offer me a hand. The skin of their small palm is rough against mine, calloused.
Probably shouldn't do this, but...
Rubbing it off on a sleeve, they offer me a fruit from the basket. When I accept it, the stranger gives me a smile that warms my chest.
Take care, all right? I'll see you around.
The stranger's eyes widen when they take a closer look at me.
Wait. I know you.
I'm at a loss, because I have no idea who they are.
You're Kay, the magician. Countess Nadia said we were expecting you.
We?
You can call me Portia. I'm the lady's head servant.
Oh, all the pieces click together. The pomegranates were for the palace. And Portia's name rings a bell. I think I've heard of her, through gossip in the market.
Well, how lucky were we? Come on, I'll show you the quickest path to the palace.
As the sun journeys across the sky, Portia and I climb stair after stair of seemingly infinite stair. Goodness. The higher we ascend, the fewer travelers we encounter along the way. And by the time we reach the top, I can barely walk. Though Portia seems as energetic as ever, she pauses to let me catch my breath.
Kay, I'm really glad you're here. The Countess could use some good help. And you look like a good sort to me.
When we reach the palace, it's near dark. Before me is a towering gate of twisted iron. Beyond that, the palace rises in a swirl of glittering spires. 2 guards stand on either side of the gate. Their eyes glint at me from behind their helmets. But they lower their weapons when they see Portia.
Ludovico, Bloodmila, this is Kay. She'll be staying as our guest. Kay, Ludovico, and Bloodmila.
What a mouthful. The guards nod at me, their stiff posture relaxing. In unison, they push open the heavy iron gate.
After you, Kay.
The gate slams shut behind me, and there's no turning back. Portia leads me across a long, steep bridge. Some kind of eel twists through the swirling waters below, glowing like a bloodless ghost. Portia tugs on my arm, leading me away from the edge of the bridge.
Come on, we don't want to keep my lady waiting.
As we approach the intricate doors, anxieties start to rise like bubbles coming to a boil within me. Is this wise? What awaits me in this fortress so far from home? Too soon, we're standing before the doors.
Here we are.
She swings her fist again against the copper plating. 3 skull-rattling strikes. As the last echoes fade, the pendulous doors swing inward. And that is the end of Book 2. Now, Book 3, The Empress. Inside the palace, the floors, walls, and steep ceilings are all clean-cut, polished stone. A servant with a blue feather cap comes sweeping up to us. With a deep bow, they pass me and dash to Portia's side.
Chamberlain, how are we doing on time?
Terribly late. The 5th course is already over. Her ladyship is in a most unhappy state.
Portia chews on her lip and hands the servant her fruit basket.
Have the sommelier fetch a bottle of the golden goose.
The servant departs at a hasty clip. disappearing behind a panel in the wall which slides seamlessly shut.
Too bad. I'll escort you directly to the dining room.
Dining room? Was I to dine with the Countess?
What? Don't tell me you thought we wouldn't feed you.
I hastened to keep up with her purposeful strides. Soon we're standing before a fine mahogany door. Portia opens the door, leading me inside. Rich scents linger in the air, unfamiliar and tantalizing. Ah, Kay, welcome to the palace. Have a seat. You're too late for dinner, I'm afraid. She brings her glass to her lips and drinks deeply. Portia leads me to my seat. Another servant removes what might have been my plate. I was beginning to think you'd forgotten my invitation. But perhaps you are simply unaccustomed to travel? You look exhausted. Why, I can see your cheeks gleaming from here. The Countess downs her glass, and Portia appears at her side with a bottle enrobed in shimmering foil. Ah, Portia, I thought it full of you.
My pleasure, my lady.
Portia fills both her glasses, and the Countess takes a sip of hers. A golden goose. Marvelous choice, Portia. I reach for my own glass to cover the awkward moment, and stop, transfixed by the strange painting before me. The scene is that of a meal shared among a host of figures with the heads of beasts. The table is laden with small animals, provided by a central character with the head of a goat. Rays of gold glitter around his head, and his red eyes are strikingly lifelike. Do you like it, Kay? The painting? No. The Countess sets down her glass, watching me with an unfathomable expression. No. My husband treasured that piece. It was one of his favorites, though I suppose his tastes were rather strange. Nadia's husband, Count Lucio, the late Count Lucio. He's the goat in the middle, of course, ever the provider. Lucio had a populace eating out of the palm of his hand, much like the painting, I suppose. Whatever he offered, the people gobbled it up. They worshipped him. My husband was particularly loved for his yearly masquerade. She sets down her glass, folding her hands and resting her chin upon them. Did you ever attend it, Kay? The whole city came alive for the masquerade. Revelry took hold of hearts young and old, all in celebration of Lucio's birthday, and what a celebration when he opened the palace gates to all. The Countess sighs, watching the wine swirl in her glass. Such a fond memory for many, and now it is shrouded in sorrow, a terrible shock to the guest, to find their host murdered so violently at the last masquerade. The servants lower their eyes. I too avert my gaze, back to the painting. My poor husband, burned alive in his own bed. And at the celebration of his birthday, what did he do to invite such hatred? After such a shocking scene, guests to the palace have been scarce. I look away from the portrait, just in time to meet the Countess's keen gaze. But now that you are here, now that I'm here, she says it with such gravity, such confidence. Countess, what does this have to do with me? Kay, the masquerade is precisely why I called you here. This year, I intend to hold the masquerade once more. I stare at her. So does every servant in the room. How? Why? The festivities in Lucio's honor would be more fanatical. Fantastical than ever. But there is one loose end in need of tying. Count Lucio's murderer still roams free to this day. Dr. Julian Devorak, my husband's former physician. I sit very still, suddenly cold all over. Dr. Julian Devorak. Now I remember the name on the wanted posters. Now I know exactly who broke into my shop. Dr. Devorak confessed to the crime when we caught him. All that is left is his sentence. Execution by hanging. There's a terrible crash. Portia's face is stricken with horror. At her feet, the broken remnants of the golden goose are seeping into the floor. Portia!
Forgive me, my lady. Slippery hands.
You are forgiven. 2 servants rush to her aid, sweeping away the shattered mess with wind sprint speed. This is where you come in, Kay. Dr. Deverak has been very elusive, but you have quite the reputation. Rumor has it that you have surpassed even your master Azra. I myself see the future, in dreams, whether I like it or not. And this is how I know that you are the one who will find Dr. Deverak. And if we find him? The Countess sets down her glass. When we find him, we will bring him before the people so that he may see his long-awaited punishment. And so, to commence the festivities, the doctor will die on the gallows for his terrible crime. The Countess rises. On instinct, I rise as well. Portia? Portia?
Yes, my lady.
Show Kay to the guest quarters. I imagine there is much to ponder before the night is out.
Right away, my lady.
Portia pulls me to my feet and with a humble bow whisks me to the doorway. Portia's quiet as she ushers me down the hall towards my room. After a few turns, we pass a wide staircase veiled in shadow. A draft rushes from the floor above, prickling my skin. It's cold and smells of ash. Curled up on the bottom step are 2 large, lanky dogs. Fathomless eyes fix upon me, and they rise slowly without a sound. Though they look as though they could strike at any moment, I sense no ill intent. I hold out my hand, and they approach to sniff it. Their huffing breaths tickle my skin, and their tails start wagging slowly.
Well, this is bizarre. They never take it kindly to strangers. It's just how they were trained, but I've never seen them act like this.
Slim snouts brush up against my sides as the dog investigate me further. Satisfied, they draw back, looking at me expectantly. On a whim, I reach out to run my hand over the smaller one's silky coat.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
The dog rears back from my hand, or from panicked Portia's panicked tone. I'm not sure.
Sorry, they're a little unpredictable. They seem to like you, but I'd rather you keep that hand.
The hounds trot dutifully back to their spot. They nearly blend into the marble.
Oh no. No wonder why they're like this. They haven't had their chamomile cakes.
She looks nervously from me to the 2 dogs, still as statues.
Wait here, Kay, and it's probably best to keep your distance from them. I'll be right back with those cakes.
Portia swoops through a sliding panel in the wall. I'm left alone in the hallway with the dogs. I feel the bigger one sniff my side insistently, and when I look down at it, it simply pulls back and stares. Then the smaller one is sniffing my other side, huffing samples of my scent. I whirl around, and it sits back on its haunches, watching me innocently. Cheeky. As I look into one sanguine eye, an unsettled sensation ripples through my body like a wave of fever. A guest? I step back, gaze darting up and down the corridor. The voice was coming from the top of the stairs. I can only see so far into the hollow gloom. But there's no one there. I nearly jump when I feel yanking at my garments. The dogs, their teeth are buried in my clothes, unrelenting as they drag me onto the stairs. I trip up the first few steps and their tails start wagging. Hey! I try to wrench myself free, but the 2 dogs tug stubbornly. The dogs only let go of me at the top of the stairs. The floor and walls are frigid stone, and the air smells of ash. My head is spinning, and I hardly feel the chill in the air. Though my heart is hammering, I summon a weak glimmer of light in my palm. I look around for the dogs, but they're nowhere to be seen. There's a door ahead, partway open. Inside is a deeper darkness swallowing the feeble rays of light. Why don't we enter the room? The magic in my palm shrinks to a fluttering glow when I step through the doorway. Coming from the hall, it's warm inside. The thick air has a strong peppery taste. The heavily canopied bed stretches midway across the room. I pass an extravagant suit of armor, a marble writing desk with a white peacock feather pin, all blanketed in ash. My light flickers over a portrait of the wall, twice my height. A dim light stretches up the canvas. Though it's hard to see, I have no doubt of the painting's subject. Count Lucio. He looks younger than I expected. Or the portrait is old. Or perhaps the artist was catering to his vanity. The red of his coat is a cardinal hue from the painting in the dining room. The golden arm, a marvel of alchemical art. The fur hanging from his haughty shoulders looks impossibly fine, and... Go on. Touch it. A miasma of thick, scorching air pushes my hand towards the portrait, but I feel nothing but ash and canvas. There's snickering inside my head as the haze settles under from my mind. Nothing like the real thing. Seeing, unable to feel. Such a sweet torture. Warmth like an ember radiates at the back of my neck. The magic in the palm reacts, its glow stretching past my fingers and down my wrist. The strange sensations subside and the voice grows ever fainter, even wistful. There, in your energy. Oh, it's him. Could she be... The haze vanishes from my mind and I reel back from the portrait. Something soft meets the back of my knees, and I fall through folds of dusty velvet into the massive bed. Great plumes of ash billow around me when my back hits the bed covers. This is Count Lucio's bed, right where he was murdered, incinerated. Then this fine ash in my eyes, in my nose, in my mouth, and all over me. It's what's left of him. I clap a hand over my mouth, smothering a scream as I struggle to stand. Going so soon? You're no fun. That voice, it echoes from every corner of the room, from within my mind. Who are you? The temperature drops, my hurried breaths turning into fine mist. I hear a shifting in the fine ash, and a weak cry unlike anything a human would make. Nobody. Nobody at all. An unseen breeze moves past me, tickling the trim of the canopy. Towards the portrait. Now, this specimen of a man. He was somebody. The voice trails off. The room feels normal once again. I scramble to my feet and make a break for the door. Breaking into the run, I continue down the hall, searching for the vague darkness and any way out. The portrait on the walls watched me run with cold, aristocratic stares. Come back, come back! Against all good sense, I stop and turn around. I only see it for a moment. A silhouette, stark against the wall of high windows frosted with smoke. Claws, horns, hooves like onyx. The white face of a goat with red eyes fixed gleefully on me. I blink and it's gone. I hear clambering off to the side and the creak of a door, and then silence. By the time I stumble down the stairs, disoriented, Portia's looking around corners for me.
There you are!
She stares at the fine powdery ash coating me from head to toe.
But why are you covered in ash? What did those naughty dogs do?
She produces a plain white handkerchief and hands it to me. All I can muster is a dazed nod of thanks as I dust myself off. My mind feels fogged, struggling to make sense of what shadows I saw, the whispers I heard. Portia takes me gently by the elbow, helping me brush off the last of the ash.
You know, I'm just gonna leave these cakes right here. Let's get you to bed.
I follow at Portia's heels until we arrive at our destination. Thankfully, it isn't much further. She swings open the door with a sweeping gesture.
These will be your quarters, Kay. You can put your things wherever you like. Breakfast is at sunrise. I'll wake you.
My fatigue must be showing. I let my bag fall to the floor. Eyeing the smooth linens, I shudder with exhaustion.
You look ready to drop. I'll leave you be. Sleep well, Kay.
Her soft voice trails off, and she gently slides the door shut. At once, I burrow into the luxurious sheets, and I feel as though I'm weightless. Heart thumping to the rhythm of Portia's steady, ever-distant footfalls, I sink into unconsciousness. And that is where we're ending it here for today, because if I don't, this is going to be very, very long. So tomorrow, we're going to do book 4 and 5. I'll see you then. Bye, everyone.